man. Episode 8, House of the Dragon. That's right. Everybody was talking about it as they should be. This show is the best show on television. I don't think there's an argument against it right now, obviously. Nothing else airing is even coming close. I love this show so much. And I don't know if you do. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think you probably do if you're here looking. Or maybe you just want to hear me complain. I don't get this show. I don't understand. Either way, it's going to cost you. You got to subscribe. Whether you're throwing a comment in there on positivity or negativity, you got to subscribe. Why? Because that's the price. You go into a store, it's free. Oh, I don't want to pay that. Why? It's free. That's it. Stop fucking around. Anyway, it's a good way to get people right on board, right? You threaten them to subscribe or otherwise tell them that they're not showing class. It works. All right, let's get into this thing because you're here to talk about it, and I understand. House of the Dragon, Game of Thrones. This show just gets better and better and better and better. The conversation about whether or not Emma Darcy and Olivia Cooke would be able to do the same things that their predecessors were doing in the roles is now out the window. They are owning the role. They are fantastic. As I mentioned, I had never really seen much of Emma Darcy's work before this. I think they are incredible. Powerhouse. There are a few times, by the way, throughout watching this episode, this one in particular, I hadn't done this beforehand, when Rhaenyra is talking to Viserys, and I saw young Millie Adcock in Emma Darcy's eyes, and it reminded me of Jamie Costa. And why do you say that? Well, I'll tell you. If you don't know Jamie Costa, he's a brilliant actor who doesn't do impressions. He embodies people. He embodies Robin Williams. He embodies Owen Wilson, Ewan McGregor, these people. And it's like, it's not an impression. He somehow contorts his face, and when you're watching him, he just becomes that person. And I'm not saying that that's what Emma Darcy was trying to do. It just happened. There was something when Emma Darcy was talking, or Rhaenyra was talking to Viserys at the bed, and this vulnerability of this young child came back when having a conversation, which I thought was brilliant. And I thought it worked really well. So anyway, shit goes down in this one. And I feel like every episode shit goes down, but this is the most important and the most heartbreaking. I don't think anybody's going to disagree that it's Paddy Considine's episode for sure. Everybody's phenomenal in this. I mean, really, really good. But claims of not claims of thrones, but claim, I guess so. Not claim of the Iron Throne, but claim of the Valerian right is supposed to go to Rhaenyra's kid. And there's a lot of talk, man. There's a lot of talk about that these kids are Strongs. They ain't Valerian. So our main guy, again, this is something to warn everybody about. If you come over here, this is something also if you're brand new. I mean, I haven't talked about this in a while. But if you come here looking for somebody who's going to nail all the names and know all the stuff that happened with Ice and Fire, boy, did you come to the wrong channel. I'm gonna do the best I can remembering a lot of these names, and it took me like 4 episodes just to remember Viserys. But now you can't forget. Either way. So let's get. I'm gonna try to get into what I can, and we'll talk about. I think it was So I know that Corlys was hurt. We don't see him get hurt. We just know that he was hurt. Gets hurt, and now who's gonna take over? Who's gonna do it? Well, Sir Vaemond thinks that he should, and he makes a plea. And it's like, no, I don't know. We can't. It's never happened this way before. We got to make sure that we keep it in the line. And my son's my grandkid, and it's like, come on, it's not really his kid. Look at that kid. Here's the thing about that whole, and we'll get into it a little bit more. We can just get into it now. This is what this show does so well. It's not like a black and white definitive, yeah, this is exactly how you should feel. You should feel like those are the good guys, those are the bad guys. They put you in places where you're like, well, I can see his point. I think Sir Vaymond was a loudmouth and almost got himself in trouble in the war when he was yelling about how Daemon wasn't, it was losing control and all this. And his brother said, "Shut your trap. You're gonna get you into trouble. You're gonna me into trouble. Shut up. Your mouth's gonna get in trouble." And it ultimately does. However, the reason why he's trying to get into that seat is legit. He's making this claim, and the things that he's saying when he's like, "This is my bloodline. It ain't continuing with these kids. Look at him." And you go, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. But you got to play the Game of Thrones, right? But that was the thing, is that you're not necessarily. I was not rooting for him at first. And then as I'm watching him give his speech, I'm like, I get why he's there. Like, I know why he's there. It's not like, oh, he shouldn't be there. He shouldn't be going against the way this is as Rhaenyra was saying, this is a farce. I mean, it is and it isn't. They were doing it. They don't want you in there, and they want to take control. And the High Towers need him in control because he's going to help them out, and then they're going to have a Valyrian fleet. Sure, that's the politics involved in it. And that's the farce of it all. Absolutely. But his claim ain't bullshit. So that was a tough one. But there's a lot before that even happens. We'll get into there's so much. That's the thing. There's so much that happens in this show without there's some big moments in here, obviously. As we just mentioned, and when he eats shit, that was a shocking moment. You knew eventually, we'll get into it. We're going to talk about that. So I don't want to jump, but the Queen's put in the position here, the almost Queen of the Seven and the Iron Throne. She's put in a very horrible place, right? Because she's like, all right, what am I going to do here? I'm pretty sure Rhaenyra and Daemon had my son killed, which is not the case, but she thinks it is, and rightfully so. But I got to play. She knows how to play the game. She would have been a great queen. She knows how to play the game. But she's like, yeah, let's just go. We're going to go to Westeros, and we'll see what happens. So they move on over. He goes with them, make his claim. Rhaenyra and Daemon head there, and this is what the other thing that I thought was really interesting is how much it's changed when they got back. King's Landing has changed. Starting in Westeros, King's Landing has changed dramatically because, and they even said it in the after thing, was that when we first meet the Targaryens in this time period, there's Targaryen art and dragon stuff all over the place. But as Viserys has gotten older or sicker, the High Towers have taken over, and Alicent has now found religion of the gods. And now there's more stuff about that. And then Rhaenyra comes in and she's like, I don't even recognize this place anymore. It's more stuffy and all that type of stuff. And they walk in, they're not even greeted, really. There's this beef. It's just so good with this is why its writing in the show is so good. It's like this, you can feel it. You can just feel it in the air. And that's why the end of this episode is just so tragic, because you know shit's gonna go down, but it's like, oh, look at this. They're all gonna be friends, and you know that they're not gonna be. But then we know eventually we're going to see Viserys. We're going to see. They're there to go see him. And this is heartbreaking scene. Now, what was so great about this, what I liked about it, this is the scene I was talking about before, when Emma Darcy, essentially to me, transformed into young Millie Adcock with just a look. I'm really impressed with Emma Darcy, man. What a performance thus far. Anyway, and looking at Viserys and Patty Adcock. Patty Adcock? Sure. Patty Constantine. Having a conversation with them. And what I really liked about this scene, what I thought they were going to do, what they normally always do, not just Game of Thrones, but everybody. They're going to have to fight through this because he's lost his mind. They're in control now. And which is essentially, the they're in control part was true. But he hadn't lost his mind. He He's just hurting. He's in bad shape. He's just holding on by a thread, and you could see it. And they even say to him, they're trying to keep the pain down. They're trying to keep the pain down with the poppycock milk or whatever the fuck he's drinking. And then they also know, just in case he starts asking questions and stuff, because he's got his right mind about him, just give him the fucking milk. I do believe that both Hightowers do want him to not be in pain. Again, that's why the difference between when you look at something like, I think some people have compared Alicent to Cersei, and at least not yet. Maybe down the line, but not yet. Because Alicent cares. I mean, and Rhaenyra even gives her props and says, "Hey, you've taken care of my dad." Because they could have let him just go and then taken over, or maybe it's a trickier situation. I know people would comment, "Well, if they let her go, then Rhaenyra gets the throne right away, and it's a little too trickier." Absolutely, it is. But I do believe that she cares, and they don't. And they're keeping him alive. They're helping him out, but they're easing his pain and helping themselves out, because they're making all these deals, and that's when this whole conversation comes. Like, we're not giving this kid that throne. There's no way. We're not giving it to him. We're gonna give it to the guy who's gonna help us out. And so they have all these conversations. They have we got to give it to Vaemon, but we'll hear everybody out. And I'm gonna go talk to Alicent's. I'm gonna go talk to Daemon and Rhaenyra and greet them, and that doesn't go well. Because she's like, "Come on, you know what you're doing here. This is bullshit." And she's like, "Oh well, you wanna talk some shit? Okay, see you tomorrow. Hope that works out for you." Takes off, and then there's that great conversation that Rhaenyra has with the queen, or the queen who would have been the queen of the Iron Throne, and offers her this deal. And she had offered a deal like this before, which was, I thought, again, really impressed with the writing. Rhaenyra offers her this deal. And she is like, "Look, I didn't kill your son. I loved your son. I'm telling you, like, you believe me, don't believe me. And look, I want to offer you this. We'll wed our kids, my kids with your grandkids. We're gonna do this right." And she's like, "Oh, it's a very generous offer." Or desperate. Now, Rhaenyra has made an offer like this before when she was desperate before with Alicent, which Alicent, called her out on it. Queen calls her out on it. And this time, Rhaenyra's like, "Yeah, but who cares? Whether it's desperate or not, who gives a shit?" It's a good point. Who gives a shit? But go in on your own, because I ain't helping you. At least we think. So sends her in. I love that scene. Like, it's just like, that's what the show does so well. It's like every little scene, that scene is even as little, it's massive in weight, right? But it's a little scene, you remember it. Like, just watching the episode and going through it, going, "Oh yeah, how important was that? Important that." The other stuff that you got, Pigeon Boy, who doesn't want to be the king. What's his Aragorn, whatever the hell his name is, Aragon. He's the pigeon. The jerk off kid. He don't want to be the king. Aegon, right? Aegon. And he don't want to be the king. And he's I guess it seems like he's raping the help. And then Alicent says, "Hey," to the girl, basically in the best way, "I know my son's an asshole," but she manipulates her like, "You don't want to say anything else. You don't want to be that girl." It was a creepy scene, horrible scene. She didn't want to be doing the action, but knew that she had to. And then she slaps the shit out of this kid, rightfully so. This kid is not he's not the one. Now, if Aemond is essentially Daemon, right? Aemond is that Argon? I can't remember these fucking people's names. The kid with the patch on his eye. Right? What the hell's a kid's name? Aemond, right? It's Aemond. I was right. What the hell are you yelling at yourself about? I was upset. But he's got, like, that kid, when you see him and he walks in, his nephews come in and watch him, is like, "Oh man, yeah, we slashed his eye, and now he's a fucking badass with a patch on his eye." because he's Sir Kristian was delegated to just getting beat. He doesn't age. Nobody ages, by the way, in the show except the kids and poor Viserys. There's only two people who age. Everybody else looks exactly the same. Sir Kristian looks the same. Everybody looks the same. Daemon doesn't age a second. But that's my only. Well, there were two critiques with this particular episode. Nobody ages outside of those people, and the CGI when the head chopping happened, when Daemon are going on the road together. Patch, I banged my niece and half a head. They're all going out on tour. So, but anyway, it's just you see that this kid is now just a complete badass. He's the one out of the kids that is going to be the threat. He's going to be the threat. We know this already. It's a great stare-off. Somebody sent this to me yesterday. I don't have the meme itself. But there's a stare-off at the end of the episode where Damon's looking at Aemon. And someone sent it. It's a meme. I don't know if you've seen The Boys, but there's a particular meme in The Boys where someone says, you're a cheap copy or something like that. I'm not going to ruin who says it because I don't want to spoil it for you. But someone says you're a cheap copy. It's like, nah, I'm the upgrade. And that's essentially what Daemon and Aemon were doing at one point, looking at each other. But man, that was just that's just all the setup there where we get and there's so much setup with the kids. People say there's no good people in this show, right? I think that Rhaenyra's kids are going to turn out to be like the good ones, like the Jon Snows of the show. Even though the little fucker was taunting Aemon at the end, he started it by laughing at him. Stupid move. Should have just left well enough alone because he knew that there was just a fuse waiting to light. And I love that the older kid who's now. No, he's not. No, the younger kid is the one taking over. Again, it's a lot to hold on to. But the one who slashed his eye, they got beef, those two. I think that's going to keep on going down. But as we move forward through this episode, we have our little trial, if you will, or not trial, but like, look, my kid deserves it. It's like, you don't deserve shit. That's a strong kid. That ain't nobody. Blah 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 blah. And this little bastard. He's like he is turning into the new Joffrey. Still pigeon fucking jerk off kid. This is the kid I think is going to be like the Jon Snow of it all. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. This scene, man. Okay, so let's get into it. As Rhaenyra's making her pitch, why her kid needs to be the one. Doors open up. Viserys comes walking in, dick out. I mean, this was a scene. Now, Viserys, if anybody's arguing again, like I know there were arguments in the beginning of it, which I understood. Is Viserys a good guy? Is Viserys a good king? Viserys answered all those questions in this episode. Took him a while, but he became a great king. It took him a while, and a lot of the decisions he made ultimately got him to this point. So you can maybe counteract with that, but I think a great king can also be looked at of what decisions did you make, how did you do things, and he was ultimately trying to do what his predecessor did, to keep the peace, and he knew you got to keep the House of the Dragon in sync, otherwise it's over for us. And he knew, and he's been holding on to Aegon's, dream the whole time, or vision. And he's been holding on to it, and he knows Rhaenyra's got to be the one. He knows it. So he gets his ass out of the bed. Before that, too, he tells Hightower, we're having a dinner tonight. And he's setting it up. He's like, we got to have a dinner. We got to do this. And no matter what, I'm going to be there. He's like, take some of the milk and shut your hole. And he's like, fuck off. I'm not taking the milk. I want a dinner. And I'll be there. You'll be there at 6, dick face. And so he goes, and he shows up. And he walks in, and he's like, get the fuck away from me. I'm walking out my cane. Don't touch me. This is the entrance, and I got my gold half a mask on so people don't see the hole in my face. And I'm walking through with my fucking bald head, and I'm moving in. So get out of my way, because I'm going to sit on that throne. And and he can't make it up. His fucking crown's falling off his head. He's a mess. Daemon walks up to him, grabs him by the arm. He looks up. He's like, I got it. And he sees Daemon. He's like, all right, it's you. And this one got me too, because I don't know. People who know don't know. I lost my brother in 2018, and that bond that you have just in general with your siblings. Man, what kind of fights or anything that you get into, it's like it's always there. And these two, like all the history that they had, and even when Viserys is laying on the bed and he says to him, he goes, Daemon, and he's Daemon helps him out. It's a great moment. And then shit goes down. This is the knife part of this, because what's his face gets all pissed off. Vaemon gets pissed. He's like, because Viserys sits down. He goes, all right, look, what are we talking about here? What are we talking about? This is my grandson's getting the throne. That's unless there's another. Is there another claim? Did Corlys not want this? What happened? His wife goes, no. He does. He wants it. And that's it. Okay, end of story. Well, Vaemon doesn't like that. Vaemon gets pissed off. Vaemon says, it's a great line. Vaemon starts screaming and yelling. He's about to say it, and Daemon goes, say it. Go ahead. Say it. And you're like, he's not going to say it. And the fucking guy goes, they're bastards. You're like, that alone is going to get you. That you're in trouble now. And he doubles down. And she's a whore. And you're like, this fucking guy's not going to make it. And Viserys gets his fucking ass up, and he's ready to scrap. He's like, I'm going to cut out your tongue, dick face. That's it. How do you like that? He's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? He didn't have a chance to, because his head gets cut off. Just like that. Half a face. Look at that. Whoop. There goes your head. Daemon, that's disgusting. And Daemon's like, yeah, you keep your tongue, asshole. You got something to say about my wife now? Someone tweeted out to me that was his Will Smith, keep your wife's name out your motherfucking mouth. But there he goes. Out like a light. And they disarm him. Sarah sits down with that mask is something else. And then the dinner happens, man. At dinner. Holy shit, that dinner. The dinner did so much because it's so heartbreaking, right? You have this whole scene with them. They're all sitting down, and they're fighting at first, and they're scrapping, and then Sarah's like, cut the shit out. Listen. And he gives a great speech and all this stuff at the time, and he didn't want to, as a king, he didn't want to try to avoid the confrontation. He wanted to try to avoid this stuff, and he just called it out and said, stop fucking fighting with each other. If you band together, we got this thing. We got it. And it's a good moment by Rhaenyra to show what she's got as a queen, where she's like, okay, look, I'm going to start out with my friend Alicent. And I'm going to say thank you for everything that you did for my pops. Thank you. And then Alicent throws it back at her. And everybody starts throwing compliments. And even when the pigeon boy tries to fuck around, the guy I think is going to be the Jon Snow is like, no, I'm going to give props to my uncles. Props to you guys for what you did. And then it's cool. It's chill. Viserys then is just like, okay, I did it. And he fucking craps. And that craps out all the way, but he's like, I'm out. That took a lot. So they carry his ass out. Seems like everything's going to happen. Everything's going to go good. And then the little guy, this is a great moment too, but that happens afterwards. But the little guy starts fucking with Aemon. And Aemon's like, all right, here we go. I got something for you because I'm more clever than my stupid brother who's just going to say stupid things and get himself in trouble. Check this out. You guys are really, really strong. And you're like, oh, this guy. And he provokes the fight. Everybody breaks out and you just know, okay, it ain't going down. It's still going to go down. They're not going to, this Brady Bunch shit ain't going to happen. So the big fight happens. You're like, okay, this is the setup for it all. But the most devastating thing is the conversation that, because Alicent is there to take care of her husband. She's talking to him. He thinks that Rhaenyra is there. He's talking to Rhaenyra, and he's like, listen, I got to finish the story here. I tell you about the Ice and Fire, the Song of Ice and Fire. Let's talk about it. You got to, it's on you. You got to do it. And Aegon, so Alicent doesn't know what the fuck's going on. She hears Aegon. Oh, wait, you want him to be king? The prophecy? He's supposed to be king? Is that what you're saying? I get what you're saying here. I get it. And it's not what he's saying. He's trying to talk to Rhaenyra and tell Rhaenyra she needs to be in the lead. Great setup. Fantastic episode. Fantastic. And and then it's like, okay, it's all going to go down. And now that Paddy Considine is, give that man the Emmy. You got to. If he doesn't get a nomination, he's definitely going to get a nomination. If he does get a nomination, it'd be a crime. But he was so good in this and just took you on a loop with Viserys. I've liked Viserys since the beginning. First episode was a tough call for him with his wife, and he's made things where you're like, come on, man. And Damon called him out. You got to make that move. And I even said it a few times. He's not a great king, but he's a good dude. I think that he did everything that he could at this point. He kept the peace for a while, and he did. And I think Paddy Considine said it in the after thing. You look 200 years later, you look back at him, and he was a really great king. But now it's all going down. I don't know. I love this episode, and obviously longer review here. What'd you guys think? Like it? Not like it? Dig it? Not dig it? What do you think of the show? I think most people are going to love this episode, but I really want to know. And please, as I said before, show a little. Subscribe. Try to get 70,000 by the end of it. Man, what an episode it was. I was such a massive fan of this one. This kid's creepy as hell. But anyway, what are you guys thinking about this show overall? Do you like it? Do you not like it? You think that it's the best show on television? I want to know what you think. So please go ahead and let me know. I'm trying to hit those comments as much as I can. So thank you. I appreciate you. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.